I'm John Wolpert. I'm here with the Baseline Protocol, and we're going to interview Andreas Freund, who is one of the great contributors to the Baseline Protocol, both the specification and the ideation around how it works. And Andreas, you're going to take us into the Baseline Protocol Hackathon 2020's scaling challenge, which is a $2,000 bounty. By the time you, I think that's the final number. If it's a little different it might be more, might be the same. So $2,000 on this bounty, and you're going to tell us about how to get involved in this challenge, how to get running fast, and how to succeed with this challenge. Take it away,
Absolutely.
Andreas.
Give me a second. Let me share my screen so that everybody can see where things are, where you can find it. It should be linked from the Gitcoin challenge page. But if you're in the repo and want to find it, it's in the Baseline main roadmap here. It's issue number 155. So you can find that, and the challenge addresses two things. Number one, when Baseline is becoming really, really popular, we need to process a lot of transactions, and public blockchains are typically not great at processing that many transactions on the one hand, and on the other hand, there are other people who also want to use the public mainnet. So we don't want to be a Netflix in the year 1997 with the internet. So that would be
right.
a big of a problem, right?
So if Baseline work steps are roughly 50,000 in gas, then the throughput, probably fine for the next year or two, but in terms of adoption, but at some point we're going to need some headroom, right? And so
we need headroom, and we need to bring the cost down. It's like 50,000 gas still cost you a bit when you put it on a per document basis that you would want to baseline in your business processes. And your CFO definitely is going to ask you, why are you spending a dollar on a document when you can email a PDF for next to nothing.
Right.
So that's actually the second part of the challenge is by increasing throughput through, as you like to call it, fancy batching. We also need to reduce the transaction costs significantly from what it is right now by a few orders of magnitude.
So that's what this challenge is all about, right?
That is what this challenge is all about.
So contestants have a lot of latitude. They can find different ways of doing it. We'll give them ideas for the ways we think it ought to be done. But at the end of the day, the challenge is to increase throughput or show a way to increase throughput and reduce costs on a per work step basis.
That is correct. And the scaling challenge has two components. There's a required challenge, which is show that you have 100 participant pairs, and that on a sustained basis for 10 minutes, you can in each pair you can process one record per second. And that doesn't sound like a whole much, but it's you're looking at 100 transactions a second for 600 seconds. So that's
okay.
That's not nothing. And to make it fun, it should be invoices. So what you need to do, you need to understand how Baseline treats these process documents such as invoices and orders and so forth. So you need a basic understanding how baselining works. It's probably a good to work through the documentation as a first step, and then maybe take a look into how into the code where you're looking how a document is submitted, how it's currently processed, and then how it is anchored on layer one. Again, you don't need to go into all the nuts and bolts of the code. a broad review is enough, because you have the opportunity to write the next iteration of the reference implementation, because
Yeah.
the code needs to evolve significantly. New architectural patterns are required. So, and we've talked about privacy a lot. So you don't have to be a ZK Snark or ZK Stark or bulletproof expert. However, it would be good that you understand the basic things, how a ZK Snark works. So
How
there's
to implement and utilize those libraries.
yes,
Yeah.
from a conceptual level, so you understand the words, and then and I'll go into that in a second. The
And there's some
actual
background links on the in the issue on that as well, right?
there's some background text that'll allow you to find the links, because there are quite a few
And we
that
should
are
probably say right here that anybody
helpful.
that's competing should go to get onto baseline-protocol.org. If you're not already there, get the Slack inviter. This community, 800 strong, is mostly on Slack. Sorry, not Discord or other. Although we have folks in that. Go on the Slack channel, and there's a channel on there called Hackathon2020 scaling. Join that, and you'll be in the groove with the people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, so you have here your technical requirements. You know exactly what you need to do. Oh, and by the way, the optional challenge is once you have baselined all those wonderful invoices, then you should be able to tokenize them. That is an opportunity for you to collaborate with other teams that working on different challenges. And if you get to that point, you might want to reach out to them, because this is about tokenization. This is about being able to exit a state from one workflow and then doing something with it. So the tokenization and the workflow exit teams could already have something that you can use, and that they might be willing to share if you share what you have. So this
that's
is
good
all about
advice. So you're saying,
collaboration.
be focused on some of the other challenges that are happening at the same time, and see if you've got your scaling solution cooking up. You could say, hey, you might want to you might be able to be useful for those other projects. Andreas, one of the things that I find interesting about this one is the complication, right? So all good stories, right? They start with a problem, but then there's an interesting complication to the problem. And this one, tell me if I'm wrong, but the interesting problem is it's easy enough to batch things, and you could set up any kind of server for batching, and you could land that plane on the main net from time to time, and you can use any number of schemes for doing so. But the trick with baselining is that you have to maintain um, assurance that sequencing is done correctly, right? So, for example, if I have a bunch of purchase orders coming in, that need to come in a row, because each of them are being calculated against a discount. And say my first purchase order is for 100 units. My deal is that after 100 units on some service agreement, I get a discount. If 200 unit orders come in at the same time, calculating from zero, one of them will have the wrong discount. This is one of the things that baselining prevents, at least if you do it all on a single state machine like the mainnet. Maintaining that sequencing, that strong sequencing in fancy batching with things like mutex approaches like mutex, you have to be able to maintain that. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yes, I mean that is part of that's part of the challenge, that you need to check for what you would call technically state dependencies. So is your previous state or your new state, are there two competing transactions that reference the same state, and is that okay or not?
Or
So
in this
that
case, that are competing with some execution off of a zero knowledge circuit, right?
that is true, because the zero knowledge circuit will encode the business logic to be fulfilled, and actually there will then need to be updates that says that, oh, by the way, this proof tells me, right, that I have now now my price has gone down. So in this case where you have your invoices, is the price correct? Well, the price, you can only check if the price is correct on an
Right.
invoice.
So if you have a
The
batch
discount
coming
has been
through,
applied. Oh,
yeah, it's
go
gonna,
ahead.
you're gonna have to say, all right, I'm not going to allow two of the same kind of thing going against this one one uh, zero knowledge circuit. One of them's going to have to drop and redo. Right.
Right, and that should be part of your test fixtures,
Right.
right? I mean, your where you demonstrate that all your technical requirements is in your test suite that have outputs that demonstrate that all the technical requirements that are specified are fulfilled, and each single one of them can be fulfilled through a provably fulfilled through a test, either through a positive or through a negative test. So, and that's up to you to do that, because the judges will look at that and say, is your test coverage of your solution complete compared to the technical requirements? So that's one of the judging criteria that are highlighted down here, which really brings me also then to the suggested components that you want to have here. So and let me walk through them and tell you why they have been included, and where to find them. So let's actually start at the top here. One of the things that the current reference implementation doesn't have is you cannot upgrade your smart contracts. And in this challenge here, you have 100 pairs. In the current setup, you would have to deploy 100 smart contract architectures to process that. So that is not really good at all.
And in the middle of in the contest, the folks that may not be fully understanding that problem, they can catch up with you, and you can take them through it.
They
Right?
they can catch up with me. There is, in fact, there is. So the reason why is you need to obviously go into the baseline reference implementation and just look what's currently there, and then realize, aha, if I were to do that, if I had 100 pairs, I would need currently 100 different setups, but I can only have one setup.
Oh, by the
Right?
way, it said BR1-1 should read BRI-1,
Oh,
just
BRI.
for just in case somebody's following along.
Well,
And yeah, so Andres, this is great. It's a pretty, I'll say to anybody watching, this is a pretty deep challenge. It's probably the deepest one technically. And this is not just an opportunity to win some thousands of dollars. It's also a real opportunity to distinguish yourself and your team, and get some real opportunities to be out in front of this growing community of baseliners. And I think anybody that works this one to the ground, even if you don't, to be clear, Andreas, this one does not require that it actually pass, right? The whoever gets the farthest and has a good judging is going to be the winner. But I don't think we're requiring compile and build, right?
You have to produce something,
You have
right?
to
I mean,
produce something, but yeah, it doesn't have to make.
it should meet, the more of the technical criteria that are listed that you meet, the better, right? So what I can tell you right now, like hint, right? If you want to get a little ahead of time, right? Utilize the diamond upgrade pattern, because it allows you to have multiple different contracts effectively attached to a management contract that allows you to do all the good things. So there is a repo, you can cut it, you can literally clone that and start off with an upgradable smart contract architecture right off the bat. A simple Google EIP 2535 GitHub will get you to that. We'll also link to it here. If you want to get started on the right architecture, understanding how current scaling solutions for Ethereum are utilized, like Matter Labs, Aztec, Starkware, go to their repos and look at what they're doing, how they're doing it. Again, there are different approaches. The one that I personally like, because there's a lot of documentation available already, is the one from Matter Labs, not affiliated in any way, shape, or form. I just found it very easy to use. Zinc is very easy to use. You can write your business logic in a Rust type smart contract language, and they have the tooling that will compile it down to what you need. They're actually in production implementation of a layer 2 scaling for transfers, which you can easily extend to what you need to do. ZK Sync, there, that is also a repo you can clone and go in there. You have 4 weeks. You can do it. It will, it's like you'll burn the midnight
it's the
oil
holidays. That's right.
But it's a lot of the code is already there. Just be smart of how you patch things.
Speaking of that, Andreas, that's my last question. And it's okay if you don't have a specific spot, but are there places that you can show us right here in the code base that would give people sort of a clue as to where to start? Like what part of the repo would you want to be digging into first?
Again, I would start with the documentation. Then I would look at the messaging module.
So if we want to, let's whack over there to take a look real quick, just so I always like to see where the code is. Let
me actually go and let me go back to
baseline right there.
Right there. And then go to, I think it's under core.
It's under core. Well, BRI1's under examples. So core is right here, and these are the interfaces for the basic
contracts, the messaging, how things are persisted. This is the privacy. The ZK snarks are in there. So if you want, the interesting thing is, this is it might be worth briefly looking into that, but what you're going to do is going to be very, very different than what is currently being
right. So that'll give you a benchmark.
That will also be yeah. It's like, think about what I can tell you. The current implementation uses smart contracts for storing the state trees for the workflows. Bad idea. Not going to work in a scaling environment. This has to be off chain, which means think about what type of database you should be using for your state Merkle trees for that.
That's good advice,
right? The concept. Think about the concept of an account. So there's another GitHub issue that has some of the requirements for a scaling solution in there that you might want to actually look at. I think it's issue 156 or something like that. And then
just real quick, navigate back up just to make sure people see where. So this is where core is, but then the BRI1, that's baseline reference implementation 1, is under examples.
Examples, exactly.
Yeah, under examples, and then there's BRI1, and now there's BRI2 is there too. But we're going to have you work on BRI1 for this one.
Yes, exactly. And this just is pretty much the libraries, the connector proxy. There's one for Google Sheets. you're effectively integrating Google Sheets, but that's not really relevant. You can just use like a Postman
That's right.
or Koa for your HTTP requests that are calling the REST APIs. So it's like nothing fancy. Just batch it up and batch up your large data into big ass JSON arrays in a CSV file and just dump it in.
Right on. All right. I think
So
this is great stuff, Andreas. And I know that clearly everyone, there's the money, there's the fame, and there's also a chance to work with some brilliant people who know what they're talking about in the
yeah.
space. And so I hope that we see you in the challenge, and I hope this short segment helps you get off and running.
By
Thanks,
the
everyone.
way, I would also encourage everyone to reach out to the people who have written the code, not only the baseline code, obviously, the maintainers, if you have questions,
That's
but the
right.
ones
It's a
that
real
have
friendly crew. Just jump on the Slack and say
just do
hi.
that. And also reach out to the guys over at Starkware or Aztec or Matter Labs. They have their Discord channels and everything. I'm always happy to make a warm handshake introduction, and they're always eager to help people who are using their code. So especially in a high profile hackathon such as this. So I encourage you to reach out, and if you don't already know them, then
Right on.
get going, because they're very helpful.
Andreas, thanks so much for your time. I know you're busy, and this is going to be great. I'll put it up on YouTube right away.
Excellent. Thank you, John.
Bye.